Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Yeah, how
Perfect.
are you this evening?
I'm great, thank you. I'm so glad the rain held off. I know I sent a message a little while ago, and because I know the forecast was originally calling for a thunderstorm, so I'm so glad they held off.
Well, we've been standing out here for the last 5 minutes or so listening to thunder, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
So we should get going.
Okay. Yes, show us around. Introduce yourself. Let everyone know.
Sure, sure. So I'm Brent, and I'm here with Naomi Fraser, who is the camera woman for this evening. So thanks to Naomi.
Hi,
So
Naomi.
Hi.
welcome everyone to Heartwood Farm, and I'm going to show you a little bit of the some of the the simple wonders that exist outdoors, and then Matt's going to show you around the cidery. So let's go. So we've been here, myself and my wife Val, and three kids. We've been out here at Heartwood Farm for the past 17 years or so. And about 10 years ago, I grew very enamored of fruit trees, and so planted a bunch of them. And like I said, we planted our first batch in this labyrinth pathway, which you can kind of get a sense of. Naomi pans around, and this is a real kind of mixed forest garden. So out here we've got some apricot trees, and this is actually a really beautiful time. Oh, look at the blossoms here.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we've got the stone
That's
fruit
cool.
are starting to blossom. We've got apricots out here. We've got apples. We've got pears. We have hazelnuts. So we've been doing some
Did you,
experimentation
um,
with growing nuts as
Brent,
well. Yeah.
did you say hazelnuts?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, here's a cluster left over from last year. Now the
Wow.
squirrels have made off with the nuts, but you can see these are the husks that the nuts grow in. And yeah, we get an abundance of these things. Now, we haven't tried making a cider from hazelnuts yet, but who knows?
Oh,
We'll pitch that one to
wow,
Matt.
that sounds pretty cool. I've never
Yeah.
seen that. Sounds pretty cool.
So hazelnuts are one of the things that we're interested in is alternative forms of protein, right? And so nuts are a great protein source and have been for hundreds or thousands of years to people who have lived in this part of the world. So you can see here we've got some of the apples coming into blossom. So it's just a really nice time to be out here.
Now, what kind of apples do you have? And are they apples like specifically for cider making or for other goods as well?
Okay, that's a really good question. So the first trees that we planted are Liberties and Nova Spies and Nova Max. They're more kind of eating apples.
Hmm.
Um, if you want to kind of take a look down here, this is kind of our cider stand. So we have actually acquired some heritage cider trees, and we found that they're difficult. They're not as precocious. They're not as productive. But we really love the cider that we get from them. So we're sticking with it. We're going to try to make it work. I should also explain a little bit about what you're seeing around you here. Like Naomi, if you want to just sort of pan around the
Mm-hmm.
lands, this is a working farm. You can see over there some cattle and some pigs. Um, we farm using practices that are known as regenerative agriculture. In regenerative agriculture, everything that you do is about building the soil. So where you think about sustainability as being trying to sustain a system in its current state, we've kind of come to realize that many of our agricultural soils are so depleted that we actually have to do better than sustaining. We have to actually rebuild them. And so there are principles of regenerative agriculture that we practice here as a way to remediate some of the harm that's been accumulated on the land over time. So what we've got is sort of a mix of livestock, of fruit and nut trees. We have a lot of sort of low-lying bushes as well, currants, elderberries, sea berries, things like that. But really part of this, like part of the design system here is, we're trying to create a forest garden that is truly that, right? It's a garden of fruit-bearing trees and bushes. So everything that you can see in this swath here produces food for the people, for the animals, um, and I mean produces some fruit for our cider as well. And the labyrinth is meant to sort of form a kind of the spiritual nucleus of this particular planting.
So how
Yeah,
did this start? Like, has this always been in your genes or always been something that you've been interested in? Like the farming, because it's, you said you've been there for 17 years. So what
that's
brought you
right.
there?
Yeah, and during that time, my wife Val has been a farmer, mostly a livestock farmer. So it was my interest in the trees really just began about 9 or 10 years ago, and I don't know where it came from. I just kind of woke up one day and I had it, and I couldn't help myself. I just started planting trees and grafting, and I became a little bit obsessive of it. And actually, it was when we started thinking about, what are we going to do with all this fruit? That's where the vision for the cidery came from originally.
So did you start with livestock?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, why don't we
Yeah.
walk over that way and we can say hello to some of the bees?
Yeah.
Did you see the pigs?
We didn't. I hear the pigs.
Okay.
Oh.
So when we do these on-farm experiences that I was talking about, the animals are always they're always a big hit. Yeah.
I'm so enamored with them. I'm listening. I really am.
Right. And then the other thing that I was talking about is the draft horses that are under the shed roof. So these are a team of Belgians. So these are actually working horses. They pull implements. They can cut hay. They spread manure. They do all kinds of wonderful things for us. So yeah. So there's lots of the community of animals is sort of one of the big features that helps connect us to the landscape and to the systems of life. So we've got a bit of a storm brewing here. So maybe what we're going to do now is head back through the barn and
Sure.
take you to the cidery. This summer, we hope to relaunch a program called Connected Life, which is a series of on-farm sort of immersive experiences. And if folks are interested in that, then I would recommend subscribing to our newsletter, which is on our webpage. And that's how we'll let people know what's going on.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what about your Simple Wonders project? Can you talk about that a little bit? Because that's pretty fabulous.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So Simple Wonders is kind of it's a catchphrase or a meme that we often use to talk about just what sort of connects us to the natural world. And so right now, we're just asking people to submit pictures or stories or just recollections of things that connect them to the natural world, so we can share those things. And we want to create kind of a bit of a community of practice around experiencing and sharing the experiences of the natural world. So here's our establishing shot here. So this is the cidery. And at this point, I'm going to introduce you to Matt Steinman, who for a year or so has been our cider maker.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Matt. Nice to meet you.
Hi,
Yeah.
Kasha.
So I mean, the way the story goes, you just saw where the apples come from out in the orchard, and now this is what we do with them when they're on the other side of the tree.
Yeah, so welcome here. We are a relatively small operation in terms of output annually. So we typically do between 20 and 30,000 liters per year. So we're basically a micro cider. So we really focus on the fruit. We age our cider post-fermentation for around 4 months. So it's really a bit of a, like, we want to get it to the point where the fruit is showcased as well as possible. And we find that immediately post-fermentation, our cider is a little bit on the sharp side. Yeah, if we want to do a bit of a walk around here, this is actually a great day to show the cidery, because we just got off the bottling line. So we have a brand new, well, not brand new, we did it last year, but this cider is called Blue Bear's Brother, and it is an unfiltered that we actually co-ferment whole fruit, so real fruit directly with the cider. So I will put, 150, 200 into the veteran, and we'll let it co-ferment that the sugars in the fruit being eaten by yeast, and it really creates a quite interesting complexity. So this is blueberry. Yeah, so we were talking about our processes for making ciders that have fruit flavoring. And so, as I was saying, we co-ferment typically with enough fruit to flavor an entire batch. So our average batch size now is about 1,000 liters. And so for 1,000 liters of liquid, as you can imagine, you need a lot of fruit in order to fully flavor that. And so it's a very fun day when we're prepping a batch like Currant Affair or like Bluebear's Brother, or we have several seasonal summertime ciders coming out with strawberries and raspberries, where we're physically just mashing hundreds of pounds of fruit to add directly to a tote, where it blends and it co-ferments over the course of a few weeks to a month. And nice. Then we either filter it or don't. So this is actually a completely unfiltered product. And some of the advantages to not filtering are just that you just get the full kind of fruit explosion flavor blast, which I love.
And a question from Insider Sam is, what's a fruit you wish you could use but haven't gotten the chance to get?
That's a phenomenal question. So let me work with fruits that I've worked with so far. So blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, aronia berries, which are an interesting kind of puckery berry that we grow here on the farm. Currants. I would love to work with sour cherries. I plan to do a sour cherry cider this summer, but haven't nailed down the source for that yet.
I think one of the other things that I would add to that too is we tend to be inspired by things that we either grow or that neighbors grow. So we don't grow all of the fruit that we need at our scale. So we tend to work with other local farms that grow stuff, and so that also kind of I think sort of drives us towards things that are local.
Totally.
And oftentimes in our newsletter we feature some of these partners. Right? We have a little a column we call Food Folks and Farms, where we like to sort of throw love to some of our other neighboring farmers that we work with. So yeah.
And just to build off that, I've also gotten interested recently in co-fermenting grapes, which are obviously used for making wine, with cider, because the kind of co-fermentation is a really interesting thing where it brings out, like, the tannins that exist in fruit skins bring out different character. The fermentation of the sugars in the juice of the fruit that you're adding itself bring out some really interesting characteristics. So yeah, I've become quite obsessed with the kind of flavor profiles that you can get from co-fermenting various fruits. So I love apples that are high in acids. I really like tart ciders, and so we selected our recipe for a specific blend of acids and sugar, and so I like the kind of the bite that our cider has, and so that style sort of lends itself. Like I'm really fascinated with French and Spanish methods of cider making cidres. Okay. I mean, we're just outside of Guelph, and so many of you will likely know Revel, Cidery, and Guelph. They're doing a lot of really cool, interesting stuff, and so I love their fruit-infused, bottle-conditioned ciders. I love their more adventurous stuff. So yeah, always.
Can I throw some love here?
And Brendan wants to throw some love.
Would love to throw some love to Windswept and also Grey and Gold Cider up in Meafrey area. I actually went to cider school with the fellas that run those two cideries, and I think they do really, really nice stuff, award-winning stuff. Yeah, beautiful. Lots of heritage ciders, and also ciders that are just kind of wild foraged, which I find really, really neat too.
Yeah, I should say that the Youngster's Mistress is it's a kind of unique cider in our array of ciders. So that one is aged in oak barrels for just over a year. So it's really got some of that sort of buttery characteristic that people associate with a Chardonnay, while also having some kind of interesting acids and tanginess. And so I was happy with how it turned out in terms of its complexity. But it is quite different than something like this, for instance, right? Which is just kind of an accessible and yet fully flavorful and delicious fruit cider. But maybe this is a good segue actually into our full array of products, which Kieran is actually gonna walk you through. So we can walk through the cider house here, and
Good. We love seeing all the behind the scenes.
yeah.
That's so cool.
Hey, Kasha.
You can introduce yourself
Hi.
to the viewers.
I am Kieran, so I'm the son of Brent and friend and colleague of Matt. I'm kind of in the business development and customer relations side of things. Some of you, if you've ordered from us before, maybe you've seen me on a delivery. Maybe we've corresponded via email, but that's kind of, that's how I fit into things. And you've seen some of the fun stuff already out in the orchard, around the farm, and then in the cider house. And now you can see our array of products. And I should mention that this is a bit of a revolving door. There are a couple of mainstays, but then a few seasonals, which are only with us for a couple of months. And then I'm sure Matt talked about some of the other ingredients that we might experiment with. Again, it's a seasonal art, right? So depending on what sort of berries or botanicals we're using, some of those have seasonal considerations. But people are always eager to come back for more and try the new things we come up with. And we really see our products as a way of telling a larger story about our farm and our community, and whether we're throwing hops in from a neighbor and a farmer friend of ours in Guelph, or berries from a farm in Milton called Andrews. There are just a bunch of different ways to highlight some of the fruits of our community, and we love being able to share those with everyone in the neighborhood.
Oh, isn't that Andrew Scenic Acres? Is that it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly.
Now,
And I think we go by Andrew's Farm now, but just out in Milton. So it's funny. We're always talking about the some of the ingredients that we're sourcing on the farm, but then also some of the ones in the area. And sometimes our customers are actually familiar with some of the other farms that we've partnered with. So it's a neat way of making connections, and in some cases connecting our customers to other great farms and businesses in the area. So that's been a lot of fun for us.
Well, it looks like Janet from Rice Lake and your dad might have gone to school together.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? There are just so many interesting connections to be made, which is, I mean, for me, I know Matt was saying we're both relatively new to the scene, so it's kind of neat for us to be pulled in and just try to piece all that together and connect the dots. But that's part of what makes it fun, and just seeing a lot of friendly faces. It's always a great way to kind of connect.
Great. So show us your lineup.
Yeah, for sure. So right now we've got 7 ciders in stock, and I should say, I think you saw Blueberry's Brother inside, which is a blueberry cider. We don't currently have that in the lineup right now, but that'll be available in the coming days. So starting on the right here, Forest Garden is kind of our classic straight ahead cider. I don't know how much Matt talked about the blend of apples we're using, but it's a blend that some more traditional apples, some that you might not be as familiar with, but they provide a bit of a tartness that people think is really nice. And after aging for around 4 to 6 months, they pack a nice punch. So Forest Garden really highlights that blend. It's back sweetened with a bit of maple syrup, but it's still fairly dry. And like I said, has a bit of that tartness. Hoppity is a dry hop cider. So that's, as I mentioned, sourcing 2 varieties of hops from a farmer friend of ours in Guelph. It's a more citrusy kind of hoppy flavor, not quite as bitter as what you might get in an IPA, but still a bit of that happy medium with some of the beers you might have tried in the LCBO. Eve Goes Badass is a cayenne and ghost pepper cider, so that one's really funky. Definitely a fan favorite, and it's very unique. It's unlike anything else I've really tried. It really kind of packs that spicy punch, if you like that sort of thing. It is back sweetened with honey, so it's also one of our sweeter products just to balance it out. But it's pretty unique and a little challenging to drink, but in a really nice way. Currant Affair is a black currant cider. So what we do is we mash up currants and pour the juice and the skins in to age and co-ferment in the tote with the apple cider. Gives it that nice rosé color you're seeing. Again, this one's got a nice tartness to it.
a little bit of maple syrup, but again, fairly dry, and you really get the fruity taste there. Speaking of fruity ciders, this one here, Mistaken Identity, is a bone-dry, bottle-conditioned strawberry cider. So what we're doing with the bottle conditioning process, we actually bottle it still, and then we dose each bottle with a proportion of yeast and sugar. And over time, usually it takes about 4 to 6 weeks, the yeast naturally consumes the sugar in bottle through a secondary fermentation process, and that carbonates the cider in bottle. Gangster's Mistress, which I think you said you tried, Kasha. I think Matt gave you the rundown, but that's, so that's an oak barrel aged cider. Again, fairly different stylistically than some of the stuff we do because it is still. But it kind of drinks like a bit of a white wine, and I hope you enjoyed that one. It's kind of a nice introduction to our products. And then the last one here, Community Harvest, is kind of an interesting one. And coming back to what I was saying about wanting to highlight some of the ingredients and fruits of our community, this one is actually made with a variety of different apples that are sourced from just neighbors and farmers in the area who just have an abundance of apples that either go to waste or might not taste great on their own, but actually make for great cider. So what we did is we pressed those varieties of apples, we blended them together, and let them ferment for a couple months, and it produced a really nice, tart, funky, tangy cider. And that's actually something we've done for a couple years. So it's a great way of, again, highlighting some of those other friends and farmers in the community.
That's great. I know Banjo Cider does that as well. I think that's fabulous. You know, I mean, such a great idea. Before you show us the maple syrup and the honey, I have to say, you and Matt both said that the Gangster's Mistress tastes like white wine, and I don't taste white wine, but that's a good thing. I taste like a nice sour tart funk, which like an organic taste, which I like, and I don't usually like still ciders because I like them bubbly, but I really enjoy this one. But I don't get the wine, but it's nice.
Clearly, you're a bit of a cider connoisseur as well, so that's kind of we find that's an easy way to just communicate what we're doing stylistically, because it is aged in a wine barrel, right? So it is kind of giving off some of those infused sort of flavors that are just kind of imbued in the barrel. But I totally get what you're saying, and I think a lot of that has to do with how long it was aging as well, and just the maturity that the cider went through. So. Yeah, good taste buds there. You're picking up on a lot clearly.
Oh, well, thank you. I guess by calling me a connoisseur, you're telling me I have too much cider, but that's okay. That's okay.
We're going to be the last ones to judge.
Yeah, that's good to know. And what about the maple syrup? Because your family's been doing that longer than is that the longest, like before livestock and.
So we moved about 16 and a half years ago, and I think the first spring we actually plunged right into the maple syrup scene, and I've got a ton of nostalgia from being, I like 8 or 9 years old, and I come home from school and go out to the sugar shack and try some of the maple syrup in process. And actually you can get a bit of a view of the sugar shack there. You can even maybe see the blue lines up around the forest.
Yeah.
See if you can capture some of that. So the operation has grown a little bit in the past couple of years, but this is something that, around in early spring as the snow starts to go away and the weather gets a little nicer, it's a great way to just kind of bring people in. It's given us an opportunity to have a lot of people out and see our relatively small scale operation, but just get a sense for how it works. And the transformation from sap to syrup is pretty tantalizing and tasty as well. So that's been a fixture for us for over a decade and a half. And you can see the bottles here. And I should mention, anything you're seeing on the table here is available online. So if you want a friendly home delivery from a Heartwood team member, you're welcome to check us out at heartwoodfarm.ca. And then you also see some honey here. So this honey is made by a friend of ours named Pia, actually, who owns 3 sisters in Guelph. But she keeps bees on our farm. So although they're not our bees, the hives are located at Heartwood as well. So that's kind of a fun partnership that's worked really well for all of us, and yet another way to highlight some of the abundance of just kind of interesting different things we got in the community.
That's cool. Now your maple syrup almost looks like like a red tinge in it. Is that just my poor eyesight, or is there something? Yeah, it looks really really thick and luxurious.
Interesting. I like those words. We'll go with that.
Oh,
I should
okay.
mention this is
Here's
our
the hold up against a white background here. You get the sense of it there.
although Dan,
It almost looks like a red brush.
quickly, we can get a bit of
Is there a lot of like? It looks like a reddish gold. I don't know. Just it looks beautiful. Looks
yeah, and
beautiful.
it's worth mentioning, Kasia, that the syrup just throughout the year, which is usually mid-March to mid-April, depending on the weather we're getting, the syrup gets progressively darker throughout the year. So what you're seeing here is dark syrup, and actually Brent just brought out an amber bottle, so this is from earlier in the season. I don't know if you can see the color difference there.
Yeah, I can see the complete color difference between the two bottles.
Yeah, and so it's really interesting because it's actually the microbiology in the soil changes as the season progresses, and that microbiology change is what creates the color change. Well, it creates a change in the mineral composition of the sap, and that's what leads to the color change. People often ask, when we're standing out by the evaporator, they say, are you making light or dark syrup? And the truth is, we don't actually make a particular color. We make whatever color comes about at that time of the season. So, yeah, it's a really fun process. The other thing I was going to say about it is it's really the first thing that kind of wakes up on the farm after the winter. And so, you've been freezing for months. You haven't been outside. It's cold, and then all of a sudden, the sun comes out. The weather gets warmer. The spirits are lifting, and the wood fire is burning down in the sugar shack. It's a really wonderful. It's a wonderful vibe. So
well, if that doesn't draw everybody there as soon as restrictions are lifted, I don't know what would, because that image that you just created is, I think, what everyone sort of needs right now, that the comfortability and that return back to nature and humanity a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, we're so looking forward. Like I'm optimistic that sometime this summer we'll be able to kind of welcome people back. And in the meantime, our store, as Kieran mentioned, we have an online store. And our outdoor store here that you're looking at is open Wednesday through Sunday for people who are close by. And if you come, we observe distancing and masking and all that kind of stuff. But we're not gonna kick you out right away. So if you need a little bit of a forest bath, or whatever the case may be, feel free to stop by our store during our open hours.
Yeah, so typically we're doing delivery anywhere from west of us, so it's Kitchener, Waterloo area, Guelph, down to Hamilton, Cambridge, through that whole neck of the woods, and then as you've observed, Kasia, through Mississauga and into Toronto, and by and large throughout the GTA. So we're trying to reach as many areas as we can. We're typically doing deliveries to any one of those areas once a week. So if you order your cider, you can usually expect to have it within about 7 days, give or take. Typically you'll be greeted by one of our smiling faces, potentially masked, but smiling nonetheless, and always happy to have a conversation as well. It's been a really great way, I think, just seeing people, especially in the city, that are kind of starved for human contact. It's been a great opportunity for me and for a number of us to just have a chance to hear how people are passing the time and how they're getting through all of this, and maybe in some cases how our products are making that a little easier. But it's just, more than anything, it's been a great way to make friends. So yeah, we've really enjoyed all of that.
I can totally vouch for the cider being delivered with a smile, because it was a beautiful young lady that gave me my delivery last week, and I opened the screen door and she's there with her mask and waving, and I'm like, hi, just gonna bring you your cider, and she just looked so happy for me to enjoy it, and she just totally made my day. So I'm not sure what her name is, but whoever she is, she's beautiful and she's lovely, and she totally made my day.
Turn around.
Hi,
Naomi,
Sasha.
was that you? Hi, Naomi.
Oh, it was so nice to meet you. Oh my goodness. I'm always excited delivering cider because I just know how much I enjoy it, and just yeah, like Kieran said, getting a chance to actually connect with people beyond your bubble and have a quick hello is just so nice, and we're so starved for it at this time. So it was lovely seeing you as well.
Oh, you too. And
Equally
you look
beautiful
so
view
happy.
from my end.
Oh, you're so sweet. But you look so happy. Like you just look so happy to deliver it to me. And I was just like,
Oh.
well, thank you. You know, it was very personable.
Sweet. Thank you so much, gosh.
Yeah. So again, you can visit us at heartwoodfarm.ca. You can find all of our products there, find out a little bit more about us and our farm. All that information can be found on our website. It's also worth, if you're interested, following us on Instagram and Facebook, and potentially getting on our newsletter, which is available on our website. These are just easy ways to connect with us. I think our Simple Wonders campaign was mentioned, which is kind of our opportunity to listen to all of you and just get a sense for how you're finding connection and really finding that zest for life in times that are kind of challenging for all of us. So we'd love to hear from you and potentially see you on a delivery day sometime soon.
So just as a recap, and maybe we'll sign off with this. So assuming that restrictions are lifted sometime in May or June, we're going to be relaunching our Connected Life program. Connected Life is it's a series of on-farm immersive experiences that involve plants, animals, land, and regenerative agriculture. It'll be a very beautiful thing. And one of the aspects of that is that we have 3 Prospector Tents that we're going to be putting up and making available to people who would like to come and visit us overnight as well. If anybody is interested in any of that stuff, subscribe to our newsletter. You can do so at the foot of our homepage. That's typically the channel that we use to let people know what's going on. And we'd love to see all of you.
And feel free to DM Heartwood Farm and Cider if you have any questions as well beyond the call.